What up, nation? It's your boy CK013. You can find me on Twitter at CK_013. And we are in week 14. And once again, I am joined by one of the truest of OGs, Patio Joe. You can find him on Twitter at Patio Joe. Patio, what's happening? Nothing much. If anyone in the chat can tell me what scene my background image is from, props. Also, another thing, Kareem Hunt is not Nick Chubb. Kareem Hunt is a backup running back. Nick Chubb is just like DK Metcalf, better than AJ Brown. For sure, I can dig it. Now, let's kick it over to Paulie D. You can find him on Twitter at Paulie D with 8 Ds, because saying wasn't good enough. Paulie, what's happening? What up, man? Yeah, slate's pretty easy, man. You just, you don't play it, and you just fucking flash draft like a fucking alpha.
Oh, man. Shout out to D Millie, man. Shout out to D Millie. Absolutely crushed it, man. Absolutely crushed it. He dropped that for us in our Slack chat. D Millie is an OG member, a long-time member of the White Stick Nation. What up, Nation? Week 14 NFL DFS Y stream, CK013 here. You can find me on Twitter at CK_013. Joined once again by the two OGs, as D Millie put it before us. First up, Patio Joe. You can find him on Twitter at Patio Joe Ref. Joey, my man, what's happening?
Not much, man. That was a good laugh, man. I've been between the video earlier today on Twitter that I posted about it was all in Spanish, but they were kind of translated into Cam Akers scoring 21 points and the Rams defense scoring 21 points. Between that and this impression, dead on impression, I haven't laughed this hard in a while. It was really good.
He nailed it. He nailed it. Also joined by the GOAT, True OG, Paulie D. You can find on Twitter at Paulie with 8 D's. Paulie, what's happening?
Sam wasn't good.
Yo, it's all about the details, man. It's all about the details. He hit the details. He really did.
You know, word is that that video is just already like spinning around the nation and has been nominated for like an Academy Award for commerce.
Yeah. Once again, shout out to D Millie on taking the creative initiative. And obviously, you watch a lot of the White Stick Nation because to be able, like, that's some study type shit. Like the way he nailed the mannerisms, and even like I was saying, in certain situations, like obviously, like when it was time to do Joe, like you see, and like he's just wearing a t-shirt, kept it casual, right? Like Joey's been wearing the glasses, so he had the glasses on. But what he said, Joe, was just like, I'm like, man, he got it. Like he had me all the way through,
Dude,
all the way through.
That's creative genius to be able to do that off the cuff, just like create that out of nowhere. That's creative genius. That's wow.
Shout out to you, D Millie. We appreciate you.
Hilarious.
We appreciate you. Shout out to the rest of the nation too, man. We had the first day of the NBA preseason kickoff. Joe, plug your ears for a second. We had the first day of the NBA DFS preseason. Show did well. Was appreciative of all you who watched it. We plan on doing more leading up to the season. Also debuted at whitestick.com, Paulie's NBA Fast Break Sheet, which is something quick for people who are in a pinch, don't have time to do some research, or maybe you just don't want to invest that time into it. You just want to look and see, Paulie, fill me in real quick. I thought it went really well, man. It has a cash game core, tournament core, a little bit of notes about why you like the players, favorite game stacks. You even had your top fade on there, top play. So I really like it. I really think it went well. Got some really good feedback on it. So looking forward to doing more of that. You can get a day pass for NBA. We will be doing the fast breaks pretty much every preseason slate till the season starts, and then we'll get the rest of the shit going in, and you can get them for $2.49 over at YSA.com.
CK, can I talk about NBA a little bit?
Please.
It will be a pleasure if the nation gets to experience Patio Joe hosting an NBA show, because I bring a different spin to every NBA show. Different. No. I'm not the analyst at that point. I'm just in the host chair, asking questions to Paulie D. And did you know that, what was it, 2 years ago in a show that we did, I'm sitting there asking Paulie how to make a lineup. I throw that lineup into a $10 single entry and boom, I hit it and win that thing. So when you have me on the show, I just bring colorful and humor and just brighten the day. So be waiting for a show that I'm on. You never know when it might happen.
Yeah.
You never know. We are at week 14 already in NFL, gentlemen. That we are at that point in the season. You know, I feel like it was just yesterday that we were saying, no, it's too small of a sample, and here we are, just a couple weeks away from the NFL playoffs. It's a pretty wild slate too. We have a lot of the best quarterbacks in the league playing. We got some spend ups. We have some young guys starting, aka Jalen Hurts. We've got some bad teams and good matchups. Teams like the Bears. We've also got some good teams and some what some may call tough matchups. Patrick Mahomes, Dolphins, depending on where you stand on that spectrum. So I think it's a pretty cool slate. We got some injury news that is broken out, and we anticipate getting more up until Sunday. We'll start off with some macro view action. Kicking it to you first, Patio Joseph. Talk to me.
The way I look at it is, in a cash game sense, is I feel like it's going to be the week to pay up at quarterback and then pay down at running back. Sorry, Fritzy. We're going to have a little conversation when we get to running backs. And to pay up at the pass catchers, whether that's at tight end or at receiver. You're going to need two of them. And you're probably going to have to hit on those two, because there's like 4 or 5 options up at the top that are all in just tremendous smash spots. And I think that you need to get at least 2 of them in your lineup on Sunday.
I like it. Paulie T, do you agree, or are you just jamming over there?
Slate's easy, man. We're gonna alpha out on the slate. Do the dirty. Big money week.
Big money. Alphas all day. That's what we're doing. And if that don't work, flash draft season all day. That's what it is. That's the Paulie D way, if you ask our boy Millie.
No, I did bank a fucking real tournament yesterday. It wasn't a flash draft, so you do that.
Showdown.
Too. Do that too.
Showdown
City.
That's what it was.
Is it true that the girlfriend likes quickies too, Paulie? Because that seems like a flashy. Is like a quickie in DFS star. Is that what you were good at too? Quickies.
I really love the days when she lets me get away with quickies.
Yeah. Is that what we call it, or is it just premature ejaculation?
I mean, getting specific. Whatever you want to call it,
No, not all of us do the edging, Joe.
No, this is true. No, we can't all be
skilled at edging.
That's why you need the DFS edge here with the Wise Steak Nation.
We'll give you some sort of edge. Yeah, I agree with you guys. I think we got some studs we're gonna want. I think you want at least a couple of them, and it's just a matter of shuffling it up and finding the right combinations. That being said, we'll get it started with quarterbacks. Joey, I'm kicking it to you first. Joey will cover FanDuel for us. Joey's our cash game analyst over at YSA.com. Paul will be covering DraftKings. Joe, talk to me about quarterbacks and the expensive ones you plan on spending up for any of these guys.
Yeah, I think in cash you're going to have to spend up for one of 4 quarterbacks up on the high end. One, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, Justin Herbert, or Deshaun Watson for cash. There's nothing wrong with Pat Mahomes. I think he is an excellent GPP option. that is going to come in at very low ownership because people are going to see a good defense in Miami. So I love Mahomes. He's the third highest priced quarterback on FanDuel too. So if you're playing GPPs, I really like that. It's just a pivot because like what he's going to give you, and I just like it. And for cash, if I was weeding them out, like Russ is fine, but I feel like just pay the extra $100 and go up to Aaron Rodgers, and they're going to be throwing. And Russ, like, you have to believe that they're just gonna come out and just whoop up on the Jets and just keep scoring, and because they haven't played very well lately. They're in a must-win situation. They just played really down to the level of the Giants. They said that they kind of took them, didn't take them serious or something, and the Giants came up and beat them. So, the Jets are coming in with zero, new defensive coordinator. Their defense just got embarrassed on the last play of the game. I like Russ too. I feel like most of the ownership, though, is going to be paying down on FanDuel just a little bit to either Herbert or Watson. Watson's in a good matchup against Chicago. Chicago's defense has been leaky a lot lately, so I don't really think that he is, you should worry about Chicago. The weather's going to be fine. It's going to be cold, but fine. And I think that it's going to...
10 degrees, fine.
Not going to be raining or anything. They said it's just going to be cold.
10 degrees.
That's what I heard. I mean, that's what I heard. So, and then, but that leads me to the next play is probably Justin Herbert, I think might be the highest owned quarterback on FanDuel. He's 8,300, so he's a little bit below the other two guys. He's in a bounce back spot against the Falcons, who have a bad secondary, and I think a lot of people are going to be going there. He's averaged 20 fantasy points in almost every one of his games except for the last two games. That was against Belichick. Falcons aren't Belichick, so it's going to be Rodgers, Wilson, Herbert, or Watson. But right now I'm favoring Herbert.
For sure. Paulie.
Really quickly, when you said that the Falcons aren't Belichick, did you see what happened to Belichick the other day against the Rams?
Oh yeah, I'm just saying you don't forget what Sunday they shut out the Chargers. It was 45-0. They made them look shitty. So
it's so crazy. 4 days apart, the team looks just completely different. But the Rams have some motivation. They were in a bench spot, but quarterback city, high end. It's hard to just look at the groups of, say, from Mahomes to Herbert and not think that one of these guys isn't one of the top 5 highest raw scorers on the slate. And when a quarterback goes for 32 to 40 on DK, you really need him if there's not multiple guys having ceiling type games. And it's hard not to envision at least one or maybe more of these guys doing it. And they all have attractive stacking partners at different prices. It's going to be hard to get away from the high end quarterback, but that's essentially in GPPs and tournaments. Any roster you have with a cheap quarterback will immediately just make you contrarian, and it could happen. But for the bulk of your lineups, I don't see how you don't go up here to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Those 7 guys from Mahomes down to Herbert. I like them all. If I had to choose, I think Russ is in an absolute smash spot, and the only path I see to him not succeeding is the defense and run game doing all the scoring, and they don't need him to do it. Variance kind of hits him. Mahomes against Miami, I kind of feel the same way. He's just too locked in right now, and Miami's defense is not good enough to really hold him down. Aaron Rodgers against Detroit, I don't see that really going south either. So those 3, in my opinion, are up top.
I'm with it, man. My favorite for JPP, of course, will be Russ. Call me a homer or call me biased. I don't care. I know the Jets have the worst secondary in the league, and I don't think that Greg Williams had a whole ton to do with that. Not that I'm high on Greg Williams by any stretch, but it's just a talent thing. You look at this team. Name one player that you've heard of.
Yep. CK, I have a question for you. Obviously, like, this worked out against the Raiders last week, and it was glorious. But do you think that, like, the absence of Jacobs had a major impact on, like, Carr doing what he did? Or do you think that was going to happen regardless of the running back?
I think it was going to happen regardless. And the reason I say that is because you take away that last touchdown bomb from Carr, and Carr did, like, what is, I think, most people consider to be a Carr ceiling game. Right? Like that last play, that was a big touchdown pass. That was a lot of points,
Yeah.
So
That catapulted him to the best player on the slate.
Exactly. So I think Carr would have done that, something similar to that, like before that touchdown bomb. I think those other stats he would have put up regardless, simply because of matchup. And when I equate the Russell Wilson and Jets situation, to me, it's comparable to when Mahomes played the Jets. I expect a similar outcome to that. I expect the Jets to get destroyed. Yeah. But I do think that Seattle needs to get their shit together. They played a string of shitty games. Like, even games that they've won, they didn't look great offensively. And they just lost to the Giants. They're at home. They're playing with the Rams next week, I think you guys said, which is a pretty, you better get your shit together before you play them.
They've lost to the Rams already this year. And, if they win this game with the Rams already winning on Thursday, they'll be tied.
So I fully expect them to come out here and just want to get everybody right. I agree with one thing that scares me with Russ is, like Paulie said, if the defense, now keep in mind when you talk about the Jets on the other side, Denzel Mims is out. Crowder is highly questionable. So if the defense, motivated by Jamal Adams, who I don't care what he says, I'm sure he wants to take a shit all over the Jets. He said several times he felt like the Jets didn't treat him the way he felt he deserved to be treated. But he's got no ill will against the Jets, he says, and he shouldn't, because look where the Jets put him. They could have sent him anywhere, and they sent him to a good fucking team. So if anything, to where a team that's going to pay him and all that shit too. But still, yeah, exactly. Still, like, you use anything for motivation, and he's gonna just go out there and try to dismantle it. So that's the downfall, is if the defense scores too many touchdowns. I'm not even that worried about Carson. I mean, he'll take touchdowns away, but I feel like they'll score enough touchdowns. Like, I think Seattle's scoring like 6-7 touchdowns this game, But if the defense accounts for one or two of those, that's gonna hurt some offensive players for sure. So that worries me a little bit. I agree with you guys as well. The other Rodgers, I mean, looks phenomenal. Mahomes, I don't care, but Russ is the one that I'm probably gonna hang my hat on. I've been attacking the Jets ever since the Mahomes game, man. Like, Paulie, you played Mahomes that day. I didn't. And ever since that day, when Mahomes went apeshit, said to myself, I will always take a quarterback. It's worked for me several weeks. Herbert, Patio Joe's boy. I played Herbert against the Jets. Smash City. I played Derek Carr last week. Smash City. We're doing it. We're doing it.
For no reason. Let me ask you though, who would you say is your second and third favorite quarterback?
Mahomes and Rodgers. nothing slick there. Part of me kind of likes Brady. Because sure. I will get to receiver, but I know, Paulie, you have a take with a couple receivers on Minnesota. So I think you believe the Vikings may be able to hang around enough to keep this game pushing, right? So
I think they might win.
So I can get behind Brady, But yeah, I'm spending up. I'm going for mostly Russ. Holla at your boy when you see him in the streets. All right, moving over to running back. I'm sorry, shit. Mid tier. Where am I going, bro? Oh shit. Where am I? I don't know. What you got, Joey?
Hollywood said, "Where'd who go?" Anyways, the mid-tier, you got guys that are in decent matchups, and I think are just going to all go somewhat under the radar with very low ownership, but they're in decent matchups. Ryan Tannehill is playing Jacksonville, who are going to come to play. And if you're under the belief of fading Derrick Henry, how are they going to score their points? It's going to be through the air. So That means that they're going to be going to A.J. Brown or Corey Davis. Ryan Tannehill's going to be throwing those passes. Jacksonville defense is bad. They're going to give up over 30 points. We know that. So if you're in the full fade of Henry mode, Tannehill is a good option for me. Brady I like too, coming off of a bye. They're playing Minnesota, who their secondary is bad too. No Eric Kendricks. He's out. So I think that Brady's a good option. Taysom Hill, another good option. He's going to give you that rushing floor. I've been hearing some like chatter about Kirk Cousins keeping it close and upsetting Tampa Bay. I'm on the other side of Tampa Bay's coming off of a bye, and the defense is actually rested, so I'm fading him. Matt Ryan is going up against the Chargers defense that it would give up 27 points to Paulie at quarterback. So Atlanta, I'm totally, I think even without Julio Jones, I think Matt Ryan is going to be just fine. I know Paulie likes Stafford. I'm off of Carr. I'll stop there.
Boom. Oh damn! It was for man. Your camera's freaking out a little bit there.
Yeah.
It's going that like half avatar mode. I don't know if you want to try flicking that back on. It was working fine up until a couple seconds ago.
Okay.
Paul, you want to hit the mid tier up while he's doing that?
Yeah, I'm gonna go all the way down because I can't even really split this into tiers.
That's how Paulie likes to do it, anyways.
All the way down.
Right? Diggity. All right. So Taysom Hill against Philly, GPP only. I was like really, really, really impressed with him last week. Like, wow. He like reminded me of Stephen Young, and like I remember when he kind of took the job from Montana, and he was like a runner / kind of guy. But Taysom Hill, if he can throw the ball too, which he threw 2 touchdowns last week against Atlanta, team that had just seen him through 27 or 37. Like, he's a weapon and kind of a guy that I think is going to be sneakily in play every week in GPPs because he's going to be low owned. And Philadelphia's defense, their whole team is crashing and burning right now. And like maybe they do get a spark from Jalen Hurts. But I really only think that like that spark will come in the form of like their offense waking up. But he's in play. All right.
No Slay this week, or he's hurt.
That's good, and Slay's his confidence maybe changed as well. After that, I mean, Joe, you said I like Stafford, and I don't deny that, but I don't think he will make the cut in DFS. I prefer Matt Ryan against the Chargers. Like, this is like a scenario we've seen like 2 Bengals-Browns game go off this year. When like 2 really bad teams like this collide, like the scores can get really, really high because both teams are way better offensively. Both teams have nothing to play for. Both defenses are just not good. And, the discount you're getting as well is kind of nice. And there's injuries like making the target trees more condensed. I think Ryan's actually worth getting exposure to down low. I think Sam Darnold is worth getting exposure to. He's 5'1". We got a chance to kind of like lock him up with a super cheap receiver that, like, if the Jets hang in there, they were leading last week. If they just get 2 garbage time touchdowns and Darnold has like a good, decent day, the point per dollar and what it'll allow you to get in the rest of your lineup, pairing him with Rashad Perriman, I think is worth doing in GPPs. And then like a very small percentage of Jalen Hurts, I think, is worth getting in GPPs. Yes, it's a super tough matchup, but it wasn't a really good matchup either last game when he came in. And like the team responded. He's a dual threat. His receivers are really cheap. We saw Jalen Reagor take a punt to the house. That could very easily be a screen. And like Jalen Hurts, even just on like the last drive of the game, the Saints are up 34-0. Like he could rush for 40, throw for 50 and a touchdown, and like that's like 12 points. So it's hard for me not to envision him getting at least 4x. And there's upside. The Saints secondary has gotten destroyed all season, and you know, Philly's like they're due for a good game offensively. So, and the same thing goes with Darnold, and they're just so cheap. The stacks are so cheap. I like those, but that's it down low. Otherwise, I'm staying up top.
Yeah, I probably stay up top, but I'll acknowledge like Hurts with the rushing upside. I would think that they plan on letting him run, right? They were bringing in only to run, so you're not going to take that away. You're not going to make your offense less dynamic because you're starting at him.
If he's not running by scheme, he's going to be running for his life. But he's going to be.
Yeah, running for his life all day. I'm with that. Either of you interested in any Andy Dalton revenge? Red Rocket?
Yeah, I don't mind it. I don't think it's bad. I think if you're going to pay down at quarterback on FanDuel, there might be two options. One being Dalton, the other one being the polarizing Mitch Trubisky. I think he's more of a GVP option, but Trubisky's facing, the Texans, who are 8th worst DVOA against the pass. Their defense is bad. They just lost Bradley Roby for the rest of the season. If you think that there's going to be a shootout, I think that, Trubisky makes a decent option. I know Paulie's not into him, but he's not a bad fantasy quarterback. I don't mind Hurts down below also. I think that the rushing upside that he provides is fine. I mean, what's his price on DK?
Hurts 5-1.
Yeah, wasn't Taysom Hill like 4,900?
He was like 4,500
weeks ago. Okay, so I mean that's not that much cheaper. You know what I'm saying? Like, and we went all in on him, and I think that Hurts provides the same type of rushing upside as Taysom Hill.
I mean, Hurts played one quarter basically. He rushed for 30 yards, threw a touchdown, and 100 yards. Like, put that all together into 4 quarters. Like, the ceiling's massive.
Boom,
you got football. Yeah, if I do pay down, like if I build one non-Russ team and I pay down, it's gonna be Hurts, I think. Yeah, I think.
We have a question in the chat. What about Mike Glennon?
I
see it. I understand why people want to go there. But
I don't mind it at all. Glennon, I thought was one of the worst quarterbacks ever, and actually he's survived the test of time and has actually looked decent out there. Tennessee's defense is terrible, but I think they give the ball to the running back way too much, and I just like the other options way too more. Like he's not going to make it tough for me, but I wouldn't argue off him in GPP.
I just can't be. I mean, on DraftKings, he's the same price as Hurts. I just can't do it. Can't do it. Any other value quarterbacks from you, Joe?
No, I mean, Dalton, I don't mind. Just your matchup, the Bengals secondary is bad. They're both bad teams, and I don't mind it. But I just don't think that he'll be able to keep up with it because, Zeke is in a good matchup too, and they might run a lot also. So I just don't think that he'll be able to keep up. But I don't mind it as he's not going to kill you. And then Derek Carr is another question. What about Derek Carr? Travis, I'm just not really I feel like he's fool's gold. Whenever people want to go to him now, I think you're chasing if you go to Derek Carr now because you have a way better defense. And you got to figure last week, that last bomb was no other team in the NFL would call that in the last play of the game. But the Jets did, and it made it, and that's why he really smashed was that last bomb. If he didn't have that last bomb,
he was smashing anyway. He was.
But he was doing well, but he wasn't hitting. I didn't think he had that type of ceiling at all. And I played Carr. I played Carr very heavily, but I didn't even think he was capable of that ceiling. So, but he would have had a good game for his price regardless. But that last play just kind of put everything. That was a fucking 9-10 point play, some shit like that. You get 4 for a touchdown. It was 40-50 yard bomb.
He had 29, and he ended up with 36
for him. Like, I mean, I'm thinking 28 is my cap on him.
29
Oh, yeah, of course.
was that's
Yeah.
going on. Like you were right
Yeah.
without the bomb
and
on 20.
I don't think it gets any better than that. Like, I don't think, like, law of averages, he might have 2 bad games in a row.
Dude, this is the polar opposite
Yeah,
defense.
but,
And one last thing, Wig, you said Danny Dimes. I ain't gonna pay for somebody who is a hammy that could just pull up and get tight again at any minute. A hamstring is just something that you're worried that it might be, you could re-injure really easily.
It's it would have been early in the year, but
what killed it for me with Danny Jones was when he broke that big ass run and tripped over nothing. When he tripped over like that was like, okay, you might be fast, but obviously you cannot, like, your body's not designed to move that. Something's off with you there. Like, you ran that fast, like, he broke records and he tripped in the process. That, what happens when you run real fast and you trip over nothing? That means that your body was telling you you're moving too fast for what I am capable of handling. You know what I mean? Yeah. Moving on to running backs, Joe, kicking it to the top.
Yeah, I think that this is a week where all the running backs up top are GPP contrarian plays. Dalvin Cook is in a matchup against the Bucs that they haven't allowed a 100-yard rusher all year, so he would be more tempting on DK because he might be catching a few more passes in an up-tempo game. But on FanDuel, he's going to have to score 2 touchdowns or get that. I'm just not with it. C-Mac is, if he plays, he's not going to be 100. He's not 100%, so you don't want that. Derrick Henry, this is the one guy I think if you were going to pay up at running back for cash, this is what you're going to do. I compare him to all the other high-priced options, and he has to score 2 touchdowns on FanDuel to make the value. Devontae Adams doesn't have to score 2 touchdowns to make value. DK Metcalf doesn't have to score 2 touchdowns to make value. They get the volume. Just like Keenan Allen, same thing. Like Derrick Henry not catching passes in a slate like this makes me want to fade him. And it could be a mistake, but I feel like the receivers that we're going to get to are in just so much better opportunities and matchups that you don't need to pay up for Henry. And so they're decent for GBPs. Aaron Jones is fine too for GBPs. And James Robinson is also not a bad option. I mean, he's 8K. He's not going to kill you, but I don't think he's going to win you a slate either. That's where I'll stop.
What you got, Paulie? Oh, damn. It's like that? What happened? What the fuck was that? No, I don't know. It was all crazy. It was like you guys switched spots on my screen. You all switched spots for a second, and then, I don't know, some crazy shit happened.
Don't talk to you that way.
Talk to you anyway I damn feel like. Holla.
All right, running backs. This is a miserable fucking matchup for Dalvin Cook, but I will certainly be playing at least 10% of him in my JPPs because he is the best running back in football on the slate this season.
He's the best running back in football on this slate. This
season.
Because
on Sundays.
Right. As I was saying that, I realized like he's not really the best running back in football, but right now, and not slate specifically in case someone else, like Christian McCaffrey was on.
Yeah,
Anyway, get 10% of Dalvin Cook if you're smart because he can go with buddy, and this game could go wildly to the moon. Derrick Henry, oh, what a good spot. This is just like the prototypical Derrick Henry runs for 200 yards in December kind of situation. The problem is Jacksonville is just so bad defensively every way. Like they could get it through the pass game if they want. They may get it in special teams. And like you're sacrificing a lot at that price tag. And I think there's just better value down below. Just like at quarterback, I can't fathom going down below. And running back, it's almost like the script is flipped. And it's like, yeah, these guys are nice up here, but I need that money. And I got options down below that I like. I will say though that like Aaron Jones is in a on top of being a phenomenal spot, it's also a really good leverage spot in my opinion, and like a must have in MME kind of scenarios. Philadelphia has been getting beat by the run game all of a sudden lately. So, Alvin Kamara again at 7K last week. He didn't have a great week, but he had one of the better like mid-tier running back weeks. If you had Kamara, you didn't lose, but he didn't really win you the slate. But he was capable of it, and I absolutely love Austin Eckler. Like, I don't know what happened against New England. A lot of times in the NFL season, teams don't show up, and like, just like the Giants beating Seattle on the road, and it's like an anomaly, and like a rookie quarterback, and the strategy that Belichick implemented, I guess it just worked against, a coach that in the Chargers have that some people in the NFL just don't have any respect for at all. And then you see like against McVay, like a real one, and just trounce that team. So Austin Eckler, I think can go off against Atlanta, but there are a lot of mouths to beat there. Ultimately, I like the spend downs more so, but up here, Aaron Jones, Eckler are my two favorites.
Yeah, DraftKings Derrick Henry I think is underpriced, right? 8,700 seems to, it's funny to even say that, right? Because I used to always look at Henry back in the day when he would split carries with DeMarco Murray. I can't even say his name, Mr. Murray over there. I always considered him a FanDuel only play. Obviously, once he became the guy, he became like the late season, like any day play, any site play. And now I'm at a point where I see him at 8,700, and I'm like, that's kind of cheap. But I mean, this dude is getting like minimum 30 carries, right? Like minimum.
Listen, 2 years ago, they played Jacksonville, week 14. He went 17 carries for 238 yards and 4 touchdowns, broke the slate with a 50 burger. This is almost the exact same spot.
See. Yeah, man. So I like Henry. I worry that my love for DK Metcalf and Russell Wilson and the Seattle stack will lead me to be underweight on him. And the next best option that I will settle for, and this is not a comparison of I think it's the same thing, but I think it's a similar spot, is Aaron Jones, who is $1,100 cheaper, $900 cheaper on FanDuel. I think that if Rodgers does not smash, and I'm banking on Rodgers not smashing if I go that heavy on Russell Wilson, or at least most of my teams having Russ, then that means that Aaron Jones did that dirty to that neighbor, because there's just no way Detroit's going to stop Green Bay from scoring touchdowns. So I like Aaron Jones the most, I think. While I like Henry's spot and I like Henry the most, I think Jones is probably the best that I'll be able to afford on a consistent basis. Joey, hit me up with the mid-tier.
Yeah, the mid-tier. Just a little comment on like what two guys that Paulie talked about, because they're kind of in the mid-tier for FanDuel. First guy's Alvin Kamara. I totally see what Paulie's saying about how Philly's given up a little bit more on the rushing game, but Kamara has 7 receiving yards in the last 3 weeks. I just can't get behind that. Like, it's more than it's a trend now. Like, to me, his value, especially on DK, is getting those targets. So he's gonna have to rush a lot and score a lot of touchdowns. Now, I did get to hearing that Latavius Murray is a little banged up, so they may rely on him a little more this week. But when it comes to like 7 receiving yards in 3 games is just amazing to me. It's crazy. And then Eckler, here's why I like Eckler this week. he's the one of the last week's chalk that busted. So you're going to get lower ownership on him anyways.
Yes.
People see that Atlanta is also good against the run, but
Yep.
they give up catches out of the backfield, which is Eckler's, basically his specialty. So to me, I don't mind going to Eckler and GBPs. The other mid-range guys I'll talk about, one guy that sticks out on FanDuel is Ezekiel Elliott. Obviously, he's questionable with a calf, and even before we'll just stop this. If he's ruled out, Tony Pollard becomes a 100% play in every one of your lineups. Don't even overthink that. There's people that think Tony Pollard is better than Zeke right now, and he's like 5,100 on FanDuel. So if
They're
Zeke is
right.
out, what'd you say?
They're probably right.
Yeah. So I like Zeke Elliott on Sunday. I think you play him in either format. I don't mind him in cash. He's going to get the bulk of the carries. We know Cincinnati can be run on. He looked good the other day. But the guy I think that's really sticking out to me, there's two now. Mike Davis, because of there's no CMC, and he's going to be out. David Montgomery again at 6,600. Got a great matchup against Houston. They can't run. Montgomery's looking good. I think you ride him. I think out of all the plays for Chicago this week, I think that he's the safest, to where Allen Robinson probably has maybe the highest ceiling. And then the guy that really grown on me, and it's a little bit of a leap of faith if you're going to play him in cash, but I like Jonathan Taylor going up against the Raiders. We saw what your boys did against the Raiders last week. TK, Ty Johnson. Who? Ty Johnson. Ran for over 100 yards against these Raiders. I think that Jonathan Taylor is coming into his own at the end of the season, much like Cam Akers, some of these rookies. And don't forget Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Coming off of a sickness that he just had like a stomach flu, he didn't play at all. And he is rested. And I think that makes just a very, very good under the radar play. And that's where I'll stop in the mid tier.
Yeah. Paulie.
What up? Mid tier. Chris Carson against the Jets. I think it should be kind of mandatory that we all get exposure to Carson as a hedge against a lot of the Russ DK shit we're gonna have, or in tandem with, is part of like onslaughties with Russ DK and company. Zeke Elliott. I am not in love with. At first I like the idea, low ownership, good price, but like the Cowboys really are like one of the like most like pass first type teams out there. They've got weapons in the secondary, and yes, like the Jets are by far the number one team to target the pass game right now, but Cincinnati's probably number two. And the fact that he may give up carry color, and the fact that he's got to compete with like 4 mouths in the pass game, realistically, it's hard for me to do it. David Montgomery to me is only a cash game play. Maybe once in his career did fading him in GPPs actually hurt, and I'm not worried about that whatsoever. Mike Davis is interesting. He's like the forgotten Panther that, like, there's a strong case why he could see a ceiling in touches and carries. And his carries haven't been that bad. And if you give him back that pass game, he's like James Robinson again. And he's going to be low owned. And he's mediocre, in my opinion. So that is kind of interesting, Mike Davis. I strongly believe in Raheem Mostert's talent. I do respect Washington D, but I think Mostert, the cheap price, low ownership combination, worth getting some exposure to. And I do really like Jonathan Taylor. It's amazing the roller coaster I've been on with Jonathan Taylor this year because like I drafted him a bunch and like season long. Was depressed about drafting him as high as I did for many, many weeks. In certain leagues, I dropped him or and you know, caught in DFS the resurgence. But it seems like he's clearly won back that role. There are a few mouths to feed in that offense. T.Y. Hilton's having a resurgence. Pittman's there. They like throwing to the tight end. They do kind of, involve the other running backs depending on game script. But, if they do lead, and I do believe, that Indiana's second defense is pretty legit. And I kind of came around to that by seeing it like a few weeks ago. I probably wouldn't have said that, but they should do pretty well against the Raiders defensively. Like Taylor plus D seems like I'll cut it right there. But in the mid tier, Mike Davis, Chris Casson, and Jonathan Taylor would be my top. Easy. Right
running back is deep, man. Like, listen, these guys may not be in as great of a spot as like the Derrick Henrys and the Aaron Jones, but they're in pretty good spots. Montgomery, even DeAndre Swift, if he does play after practicing in full. I know we were talking about thinking. From what I hear, he practiced in full on Friday, so he may return. Right, big. Soft matchup. Zeke, freaky by nature. Yeah, you guys think that like Zeke is like gained some weight? He's a little fat now, and that's affecting his performance, like with Pollard.
I don't think he's.
Because I heard that he came into camp a little. Like, I don't know. I heard there were questions about what kind of shape he was in. He looks good to me physically.
He probably won't be in the league in 3 years, man. Like, he gets in trouble out in public. He's like become a cancer, and coincidence, right after he got his aid, like that. Like every time Dallas fails, the memes and the Twitter tweets are gonna be like, how much they're paying him, and when Dak was there, they were good, and then Dak's gone, and they're like the laughing stock of the league. I don't know. Running back, shelf life is usually not very long. And he's been around for a minute, and just might be beginning of the end.
Yeah, man, it's deep. A lot deeper than just thinking that he gained some weight and is a lot of shape. I still like him. Just saying. But that whole section, that tier is deep. I'm gonna throw one more name into the hat. You mentioned Taylor and CEH, who I also am interested in. Ronnie Jones, man. Can't talk about Brady in the past game, but I'll talk about Ronnie Jones, man. Rojo, man. 6,100, 6,300, depending on the site. Minnesota, not a good defense, right? We expect them to be high scoring. If Brady doesn't do the dirty, then it's either Fournette or Rojo, or I guess the defense. Yeah, or the defense.
Yeah, I'm with it. The defense. I mean, but then you can also like envision like Fournette. That's the thing. You see Fournette fucking.
Fournette can definitely fuck things up again. But you have those situations pretty much everywhere except for Derrick Henry and like James Robinson. Like you got some other guy that could come in here and maybe Chris Carson you could add to that list. But Zeke, we talked about Zeke. It's the same thing with Pollard, man. And Montgomery. So I guess there's a few guys out there that don't have a ton of backups.
Yeah. So like to me, Montgomery doesn't have that really. Like the only real like threat to his like touchdowns and is like Allen Robinson outside of like maybe the rapidly improving Smith, but like a guy like that, like I look at like the pass game as like competition for that, like the almighty TVs that we need, and it's like it's hard to see him getting that like much of the scoring to like break the slate, but he's done it once, so it's not impossible. But you know what I mean? Like competition for that is rough when it's like that many guys in your own team.
Yeah. No, I mean, the one thing he's got going for him though is that he's the only running back. That's the one thing he's got going. Like Zeke, we talk about Zeke. You got the receivers who have to eat. You also have Pollard breathing down his neck. You know what I mean? Like,
Who are you talking about right now?
what's that?
Who are you talking about right
you?
now? I thought we were talking about
Oh shit! I thought you were talking about Montgomery, bro.
No.
I was saying that's the difference. Like in what's his name, like they got so many mouths to compete with. Montgomery really doesn't have anybody except maybe Allen Robinson. You know what I mean? Like that's why it's harder for me to kind of like.
Oh yeah. No, definitely. He's just as murky, but just a low own, low own thing, like
Right.
But yeah, it's.
He makes it,
and because this is so deep, and probably not, to be honest, because I don't think I'm gonna have as many teams this week. But the running back position is so deep that because we're about to get to Value Town now, and there's guys down there too, and like that's what makes it hard for me to really feel like I want to spend all the way up at running back. But that also like, and then with Derrick Henry, like Derrick Henry's the only one that I think could go for 50. Like Dalvin Cook can, but probability wise, not a great of a matchup, right? Like. Henry could literally go for 50 and ruin your life. You know what I mean?
2 years ago.
Oh yeah, life ruining. That being said, Joey, kick it to you for some Value Town action.
Yeah, the Value Town. Yeah. In the chat, somebody's asking me, are we really paying David Montgomery over Zeke? Yes, we are. If you take there's a consideration of over $1,000 difference on FanDuel, and you need that $1,000, and you're just looking for floor. So, yes.
You know, Montgomery's outperformed Zeke the last like 3 weeks.
I understand that. I'm just commenting in the chat. Let's go here to the Value Town, where I think that there's really some good guys right around the $6,000 range. Melvin Gordon is the first guy that pops to me. You know, he has been getting the opportunities the last 3 games. He's had 15, 12, and 15 carries. It seems to me like Philip Lindsay just hasn't produced, and he's sort of being phased out. The Broncos want to run the ball. We know that you can run the ball against the Panthers too, so I don't mind him. Todd Gurley makes for a good GPP play. We know the Chargers are bad against the run. I don't mind that. Wayne Gallman again. I don't mind him either. He's going to get the carries. We talked about a guy that's going to get most of the volume. That was Gallman. I know Morris had the goal line carries. That was weird, but I still think that, he had 135 yards last week against Seattle. So I feel like at home, he's not bad. But the guy that probably is going to be a core play, at least on DK, and might be in every one of your FanDuel lineups just because he's so cheap, is J.D. McKissic. There's no Antonio Gibson. They're going to be playing from behind, and he's going to get targets. And when they play from behind like that, he's going to get targets. He got 15 targets, 10 against Pittsburgh when they were out. Weeks before that, it was more the Gibson show. So you're not expecting a touchdown. He's way more of a DK play. But when you look at what you need on FanDuel to fit in the players, he's not going to kill you. You know that he's going to get, 8 to 10 points. I also, if you wanted to pivot now to Duke Johnson in a GPP setting with no David Johnson, he's another guy that's not going to kill you, but he's not going to do anything special either. But it's J.D. McKissic probably is the best pay down option. And like we said before, if Zeke is somehow ruled out, Tony Pollard becomes a must play.
Boom. Tony Pollard with no Zeke? Are you kidding? Are you fucking kidding me? Yes. Yeah. We'll see. I think Zeke's going to play, but yes, that would be the move. Paulie.
Yeah, Myles Gaskin too, I think is.
Yes.
I forgot him.
Yes. Paulie, Value Town.
Yeah, Myles Gaskin, I got to say right now, like when a running back comes back from missing a couple games, Like, if you're not jumping on him right away, if you're doing the, like, let me see how he does, like, that is, like, one of the, like, weakest approaches in DFS. Like, and this year, like, it is just, like, it has been so money. You get these guys in good spots or not, but good volume, low price, low ownership, and, like, Eckler when he returned, Myles Gaskin last week. Like, you know, the list kind of goes on and on. Kenny Drake when he returned. Um, I like doing those, and it paid off again with Gaskin last week. And, like, he didn't even really, like, do that well. But the volume's there. And, they were leading last week. They are 100% going to be trailing against Kansas City, which should increase his pass game work. Kansas City can be run on. Kansas City does go into, like, a prevent style D, like, once they get up by a couple scores. Myles Gaskin is one of, like, the only weapons that this team has. He, to me, in this game does have the James Robinson role, and he's 5,600. I really like Gaskin. Carolina's been terrible against the run game all season. I don't think that Philip Lindsay has, like, fallen that far away from Melvin Gordon. I just think, like, Melvin has looked a little bit better, so, like, the perception has exceeded reality a little bit. I think either one of them, is fine, and one will be, like, 0.5% owned. But Melvin Gordon is going to be, like, 3 or 4% owned as well. So they're both in good spots, and what could be kind of an ugly game. And I could see either or both, doing well. You can't deny what the Giants have been doing on the ground, and Wayne Goldman has, pretty much paid off his price in 6 straight games. Giants have won 4 straight games and are all of a sudden in the playoffs. I did not think I'd be saying that, as recently as 3 weeks ago. I don't see them not feeding this guy, and they've continued to feed him in games that they've trailed as well as led. Like, and dealing with an injury. He's going to get volume. I honestly think his price has gotten a little too, like, high, what his ceiling is, but he's in play. J.D. McKissick is, in my opinion, a cash game lock, and a guy you strongly got to consider getting high exposure to in GP. Because, like, the slate is loaded with really expensive guys that we want. We haven't talked about many players in the mid-tier at 2 positions now, about many guys. So, like, the value guys that, like, don't get you a 0, that can at least get you a 10 with a ceiling of 20 are like, very, very important, and hard to envision McKissick not getting you at least 10. So give me some of that. CK likes Ronald Jones. I don't mind it, but I think if you have any, like, willingness to play Ronald Jones, then you should be also willing to play Leonard Fournette at a discount and low ownership. Nothing. I'm just, like, I talk about all guys because they're all questionable. But there's a handful of, like, legit plays down here that, like, if your, like, objective is to, get 10 and hope for more, like, there's a bunch of guys. Like, who's this kid all of a sudden emerging for the Jets? Like, that was impressive last week. And I know this is not, like, as attractive of a spot, but Ty Johnson, like, gonna get volume.
If Gore is out
he's worth it.
again.
If I honestly, like, even if Gore's in, like, once they get down by 20, they're gonna keep in it at the Gore. They just because they tie.
I don't know, man. Gore shouldn't even. Gase is trying to get Gore to play this game. He should not be playing this game. Like, at his age, in a season where his team is 0-12, he coming off a concussion.
Yeah.
Why is Gase trying so hard to get this man back on the field?
Because Gase is a
he's crazy.
Yeah, that's it. Who is Josh Jacobs playing this week? We know.
I
Probably not.
don't know for sure. We had him in on our projections as a precaution, but I do not know.
Yeah. Devontae Booker gonna get volume, and Darren Waller is not gonna just be wide open all over the field all game long. They may have to do some check down type stuff. He's another example of like chalk that no one's gonna play this week. Naeem Hines, say the Raiders do play from ahead, at home. You know, moral of the story is I think that the high end versus the low end doesn't separate that much at this position like it does at quarterback, receiver, tight end. So this is the position you pick down, and J.D. McKissick, I think we would all three agree is the headliner for that.
Yeah, for sure. I like McKissick a ton. I got one. I'll just drop one for tournaments. One for tournaments. Just dropping it. Todd Gurley.
Drop it.
Todd Gurley.
I said him.
No, you didn't, Joe. No, you didn't.
Yeah, I did.
You all heard it.
Yeah.
I did.
No, you didn't.
Such
a liar,
you know
bro.
that the Chargers you can run the ball against
Such
the
a
Chargers.
liar, bro. You were talking about Brian Hill. Yeah, but then I'll reiterate what you say. I'm with you. 4,800 on DraftKings, especially. At 6-1, I would still pay it on FanDuel, but I know Gurley's been hurt. A lot of feedback on his kneecaps.
What about Gaskin?
What's up?
Where you at?
Gaskin? I like Gaskin. You think I don't fucking like Gaskin, Paulie? I fucking like Gaskin.
Main team?
Maybe. Depends on how many I have and depends on how I feel. But yeah, he's in the pool. He's definitely in the pool for main team status. No doubt. No doubt. But yeah, I like Todd Gurley, man. 4,800. They keep saying that he's expected to go back to his regular role, whatever that means. And I believe it because for some reason they keep playing hard. I believe it. Julio Jones is out. And when Brian Hill's in the game, they cannot do anything on the ground. Anything at all. So I think there's points scored. Atlanta's been real weird, haven't they? Over the last few weeks. Their game. I know they played the Falcons twice. The Saints twice with Taysom Hill. I know that, but in general, they're just on this string of low scoring games, slow, kind of not great games. It's just real weird. Yeah.
Except when they went for 43 against the Raiders, but it was.
And that was weird too. The Raiders, just they showed up with I don't even know. They showed up with their heads so far up their asses. It wasn't even Atlanta did what they had to do, but you didn't have to. They gave them the ball.
Yeah, what's been one of the worst. I don't even know what the word is, but every week I play this one guy on a handful of teams, and he always finds himself into some of my better teams, and it has been so depressing because I don't think he's gotten me more than a 3 in 5-6 weeks now, and that's Hayden Hurst. To add to that Falcons weirdness, what happened to this dude? He's got a 1, an 8, and a 0 in his last 3 weeks.
My bad.
Well, maybe we'll get to that on tight end.
Shit. Yeah. Caught me slipping. I was flying. Don't even know what you were talking about. Moving on. 2 wide receivers. Up top, Patio Joe, back to you.
Oh, man. This is where the meat and bones of this whole slate is going to be won or lost, I think. We got wide receiver. We could probably do a 2-hour show just on wide receivers this week. But to break it down, here's my thought process is pick your quarterback that you like, whether you like Herbert, Wilson, or Adams, or Rodgers. Then don't pair them with their receivers. Don't pair Herbert with Allen. Don't pair Russ with Metcalf.
Hold up. We got to make a disclaimer that this is for cash games.
Yes,
correct?
This is for cash games. Yes, this is my thought process on cash games.
Good call, Paulie.
Okay?
Way to clearing
So you
that up.
want to try and get exposure to you want to try and get exposure to all of them. Now, this is just my theory about this. So it's like, if you're playing Herbert, you want to play Adams and Metcalf. You'll still get a piece of whatever Keenan Allen does through Herbert. And then you'll still get the options for DK Metcalf and Devontae Adams. I mean, Adams isn't just a smash spot. He's the best receiver in the game. And DK Metcalf is facing the rookie, like not undrafted rookie free agent Lamar Jackson, the cornerback for the Jets. It's just a total mismatch. And then you got Keenan Allen in the slot against the terrible Isaiah Oliver from the Falcons. I mean, you just have three of the best receivers in the game in great spots. So it's tough, to, where you want to go. I think you got to get two of them in there. But then the guy that's going to go completely unowned and people are just going to shy away from him because they're going to think the good, tough Miami defense is Tyreek Hill. And you could play him naked or not. He's going to have Nick Needham in the slot. And while Nick Needham has played better, he's not going to be able to take down Tyreek Hill. So I think that Tyreek Hill just makes an amazing GPP pivot off of those three guys at the top. And then I'll stop at Calvin Ridley. His numbers, believe it or not, Paulie, if you look at it when Julio's not in the lineup, are not as good. So It's tough. To me, I feel like Ridley is a decent cash play if you have that's all you got, because he's not going to kill you. But he hasn't had those ceiling games lately. You look at his point total. So I don't mind him. And then AJ Brown, if he's healthy, he looks like he is. He is in a nut spot too. I think if you're fading Derrick Henry in GBPs or whatever, you have to consider playing AJ Brown. Like I said, how are they going to score if Henry doesn't do the 3 or 4 touchdowns? You know what I'm saying, Paulie? So it's got to happen to either Davis or Brown. So that's where I'll stop. But yeah, Ferkster. Yeah, there you go.
Ferkster. Do the dirty, bro.
Oh, you're up.
Do the fucking dirty, bro.
We got a formula that works, and you don't fuck with formulas that work. So like, as I look at this slate, very often, like when you get these like highest price players in absolute nut spots, they just completely like take away from the middle of the pack. And usually the weeks are decided by like, did those stud guys just do what they're supposed to and outrun the field? Or did they kind of have like a little bit of letdown and these contrarian low-owned, high-ceiling guys actually going through the slate? And this is like a really unique one where like they are both so attractive that like this is I'm not really ready to commit to any decision yet, because the receiver is pretty much where I'm going to be spending the rest of my weekend, and it's like I wish I could play that. Yeah, because it's ridiculous. It's ridiculously loaded.
Paulie's gonna be a receiver for the rest of the weekend. Oh boy!
Are you fucking clown? Are you talking?
Are you more of a Lockett or a Metcalf, Paulie?
No.
All day, Metcalf. Baby. All day, Alpha. Let's go. Let's go.
So let's talk about that, right? Like, first of all, the Wise Take Nation rides with DK Metcalf, and he's been great to us all year. It is mandatory to get exposure to him in some form or fashion, right? I plan to get a lot of DK because I think that Adams, Allen, and then value I expect Metcalf to be 10%. And like I think Tyreek Hill will be higher than him. All these guys. I could be wrong, but I think when it's all said and done, Russ will be lower than most of those other quarterbacks. And people like to pair the quarterback with the receiver. And, you got to choose between Metcalf and Lockett, for the most part, like the average viewer. And, I too am like super concerned about Tyler Lockett. Like, I think it's also mandatory to get some Lockett, pair them up together with Russ. But like, I'm in love with Metcalf up top. I'm not equally with Russ. So like, Metcalf is probably a one-off more so than stacked up with Russ. And like the week that Lockett like broke the slate, I had a ton of Metcalf, and that was just like one of the like worst experiences because like it was a 4 o'clock game. I had a lot of teams doing well, and all I needed was Metcalf to do the dirt, and I didn't have any Lockett, and that one hurt. And just like one bit of one, a little bit of both. It's just the nut spot, it up every way.
Let me ask you something, Paul. I think on DraftKings, Keenan Allen with his price at 7,700 is almost like a lock at receiver, like in cash, like because he has the upside of both Adams and Metcalf, and is way less, 1,600 less than Adams, 700 less than Metcalf.
I mean, I think he'll be higher than Metcalf, higher than Hill, and pretty close with Adams. But that's ownership. I don't like. To me, he's not a better play than those guys, and like neither is Herbert. Like I think it could very well like Eckler kind of do a lot of it, or Mike Williams kind of thing. Like with Seattle, it's Metcalf, Carson, or Lockett, and like more likely like Metcalf. Adams is the only guy in Green Bay besides the running back. Like I feel like Allen's got a little bit more, to fight with, but they're all really good. But I also love Jefferson against Tampa Bay, the team that Tyreek just torched, and the line says Minnesota should be trailing. They've been good throwing the ball in that kind of role. AJ Brown's in a nut spot. Mike Thomas is in a phenomenal spot. If you like Justin Jefferson, then you shouldn't really be too far off on Adam Thielen. Allen Robinson's in a phenomenal spot. They're all really good. Metcalf's my favorite as of now. Justin Jefferson's probably second.
Metcalf, Lockett, PayPal me on Sunday. Play the plays or PayPal me on Sunday. Joey, mid-tier.
Yeah, the mid-tier is loaded too. You could start off with, we talked about Lockett or Jefferson. They're, below 8K. Jefferson has the better matchup between Thielen and he's also the better receiver. And so, like, to me, like, Jefferson, here's the thing, like, if Jamel Dean is out, he's on a concussion, he practiced today, but if he's out, that means that Murphy Bunting will be covering Jefferson, and that's just going to be a smash spot for him. Chris Godwin is in another amazing spot. I like him out of all three receivers from Tampa Bay. He's got a good matchup. We get last year's number one receiver at 7,300 going up against an injured Darius Slay, and who just got torched last 2 weeks against Adams and DK. So Michael Thomas at 7,300, I think will go under the radar, and I love him as a play. Allen Robinson is another very safe play. Paulie, I did a little check. Soldier Field weather on Sunday calls for 36 degrees, not 10.
You are correct. I read the wind as the temperature, 30
Okay.
degrees, 10 mile per hour wind. Still very chilly, but yes,
Nice.
you are
It's a little
correct.
bit easier.
Nice.
I made a mistake.
All right.
Correct.
I just checked that out. So anyway, I like Allen Robinson. Brandon Cooks, at the beginning of the week, I liked him a little more, but I don't think like he's really the number one per se. He does his role and like he moves them all around, but he's not like their number one receiver. Corey Davis,
Who is Kiki Kuse?
he does
Who's
better
the number one receiver? Kiki?
No, I'm just saying the guy, who had the most snaps
Oh.
last week?
Yeah.
Chris
Yeah.
Hansen.
Squad.
The guy in the practice squad, Chris Hansen. He replaced Will Fuller. He's the guy that he had over 100 yards last week. So I feel like, and Cooks has a little bit of a
Cooks
issue.
is questionable. He's been limited all week. He might not even play.
Yeah. So Brandon Ayuk, I think will go totally under the radar, as well as Deebo Samuel. And that's all. I think Tyler Boyd's gotten a good matchup too. I just don't like the quarterback throwing to him, so I'm probably gonna lay off. And one last guy, and then I'll cut it off. Robbie Anderson. He is, if there wasn't any Curtis Samuel, he would have been a really, really good play. But he's still a good play against a bad Denver secondary.
Boom. Paulie.
Yep. Not as loaded as up top, but yes, options and quite a few. I think, whatever. Yeah, Robbie Anderson. Let's go. Play that. Denver is not good against the pass. He just lost 30% of the market share that was getting taken away from him or so. And, he's got that home run hitter. Don't do me dirty kind of upside. Tyler Boyd has been looking like a beast recently. Got ejected against Miami, but before that, had that, one catch against the Giants. He did not do well, but nobody does recently. But against the Redskins, 11 targets, 9 catches, 85. Against Pittsburgh, 6 for 41. Like, looking good. AJ Green, all of a sudden is just like Gonzo again. And I do think Higgins will play, but he has been dealing with a bit of an injury. Tyler Boyd, significantly in play. DJ Chark. DJ Chark is like legit a top, 15 receiver and has won slates in DFS at least 5 times in the last 2 years. And this is like a phenomenal spot to make it happen. And Tennessee just got obliterated by Baker Mayfield. And that should be all you need to know. And DJ Chark is by far the best weapon in the Jacksonville pass game. Jacksonville should be trailing. Chark was dealing a little bit of an injury here and there, but he's played every week and he's got to be getting, healthier. 5-3. Oh, I like that. If Cooks were to be ruled out, then, Kiki Kuti certainly in play. Devontae Parker, even though Kansas City's not a great matchup, I just expect him to be trailing and he's going to get the volume regardless of the quarterback. Brandon Ayuk has like really quietly, because there's just so many good young receivers, but been like your candidate at receiver. He scored a touchdown or gone for over 100 in at least 5 weeks in a row. As long as Kittle's out, he's going to be one of the 2 featured guys in that pass game. And, Washington's not that great defending guys like that. Antonio Brown, Mike Evans, both in play against Tampa. I really think that game shoots out. Like, I think both quarterbacks end up throwing over 40 times. So much talent at receiver. and 2 just really bad secondaries. So like all those receivers, Godwin was like dealing with an injury, but I think he's off the report, so he's in that conversation as well. It's annoying. I would have liked him to be out. We could have, made that a little easier. But equally deep, I would say Robbie A, DJ Chark, and Mike Evans would be my favorite 3 in that mid tier right now.
Boom. I probably won't play a ton of the mid tier, but I do think that the price wise, the Tampa Bay guys, as usual, are very much in play for me, GPP wise. But I'm probably going high low, real shit. Value Town, Joey, what you got?
Value Town is, I think that there's probably my cash game lock at receiver on both sites is going to be Kiki Kuti again. He is going to be lining up against whoever they replace for Buster Screen, who is a terrible corner anyways. He is 5,600 on FanDuel. He got the targets last week. 9 targets, 8 for 141. Did just fine on DK. What's his price on DK?
Who? 5K.
5,000.
5,000. That's another great price. So, I am, when it comes to cash games, Kiki, I love you this week. Oh, don't screw me. Anyways, the other guys, Mike Williams. I think that if you want to fade Keenan Allen and want to play Mike Williams, he is this sort of a risky cash game play, but man, the matchup is great, where I feel like you can take advantage of this and get something. He's got a great matchup against the terrible Atlanta secondary. Just pick your poison with that or your choice. You guys brought up DJ Chark. I like Rashad Perriman with the news of no Denzel Mims and Jamison Crowder came up lame this week too. He's like the only receiver there. So Rashad Perriman at 5,800. He is a decent pivot off of Kuti. I don't think you should play both of them in cash. Pick one of them. Kiki's a little bit cheaper on FanDuel. Russell Gage becomes a little bit interesting now just because we don't have Julio Jones. So I don't mind that. And Michael Gallup is another guy that I love. They're going to put William Jackson on Cooper, and he's been pretty good. That leaves Gallup on, I believe his name is Sims. So that's the guy that people have just been taking advantage of the last few weeks. So I like Michael Gallup at 5,300 for a great paydown option. And then a good GPP that I don't know if anybody's going to be talking about him, but he has a great matchup. Darius Slayton of the Giants. We see his matchup against the terrible Arizona secondary. And I just think this is a week that he scores a touchdown. That's it. That's how I'm going to stop at that. I mean, we could talk forever when it comes to receivers. So,
Paulie.
So, yeah. Rashad Perriman is one of the best value plays on the slate, in my opinion. Like, all the boxes just check. Seattle bad against the pass, missing one of the larger, gobblers of the air yards and market share, and likely to trail. Darnold's back. Yeah. Give me some of Rashad Perriman, probably the best value play. He would certainly make my cash game team. And if Crowder gets ruled out, it's just even better. But that doesn't really matter. He's good regardless. I like what you said about Darius Slayton. Like, everyone's just kind of written this dude off. He's a home run hitter. Maybe ran into a couple bad matchups, dealt with a little injury, had Colt McCoy at the helm. But Arizona can get torched, by guys that aren't being guarded by Peterson, or even Peterson too sometimes. Slayton, could pop off. Also, in this same exact game, Christian Kirk is going to be like virtually unowned. He's 4,700. And the Giants have Bradbury more than likely going to be following Hopkins. It wasn't too long ago that Kirk was helping winning slates at, 4,700 and going off for 2 touchdowns or over 100 yards against good defenses. Almost identical upside, low ownership play like Slayton that everyone's forgotten about that could win you a slate. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, just because Lazard is back, people are just abandoning this guy, but he proved that he's a weapon and Rodgers likes him and he can make value on one play, and this is a good matchup for it. That's it. I don't really love the value at receiver. I think there's some nice contrarian high upside plays, but it makes it easy to just spend up at receiver over running back because there's not a ton down low that I like outside of Rashad Perriman.
You had me at Perriman. Let's go over to tight ends. Joey, we know you appreciate a good tight end. Talk to me about the tight ends you're interested in this week.
Yeah, tight end position is kind of crazy. The value is not much of it. It's basically pay up for Mr. Kelsey.
Yeah.
And that's it. I think if you're playing Waller, I think that you are chasing. I would rather go down to a guy like Gronk at 6,200. No Eric Kendricks. I feel like he's going to have room to run. And then you just got a host of guys where I just feel like they could catch a few, fall into the end zone. Hunter Henry, it has a good matchup against the Falcons. We know that they're bad against the tight end, but he hasn't done much the last few weeks. He doesn't have much ceiling. There's really nobody that can match what Kelsey brings on just a weekly basis, even his floor. Ertz and Goddard kind of neuter each other, and we don't know how Hurts is going to react to them. Logan Thomas, would be a very, very strong play. He just has a real tough matchup against San Francisco D with Fred Warner covering, tight ends out of I don't mind him. I feel like he just has not much of a ceiling either. Dalton Schultz at 5,100, I think, has got a great matchup. Dalton to Dalton would be totally appropriate in Cincinnati. Beat the Bengals. I like him. That's about it. Cole Kmet also is another option if you really wanted to go down below. His usage in uptick has happened the last few weeks.
Mute him. Mute his ass. You do not talk about Cole Kmet. He is mine.
He said mute his ass as if I could do that.
I am the only motherfucking tout in the industry that had Cole Kmet as his number one tight end last week. And if it wasn't for motherfucking Darren Waller going absolutely nuclear, and I was happy about it because CK was all over that, so was Joey, and the nation did well with it. But, when you get a Cole Kmet at under 1% that you've been nurturing all season, waiting for the moment, and it happens, dude got the touchdown, dude got the targets, went like 6x. Waller wasn't on the slate, I would have been a hero. But I'm taking a victory lap on Cole Kmet because that's a thuggish, ruggish bone type. How you doing? You know what I'm saying?
It's true. Thuggish, ruggish bone all day.
I see. Anyway, yeah. Kelsey up top, although I think that money will be better spent at the other positions. However, as we saw last week, if he goes ham, it don't matter what these value guys do because they can't even get to 20, if everything goes right. So, Waller, that was like one of the top probably 5 like games ever by a tight end. Like, I don't know, if that happens all that often. And Kelsey is significantly more expensive, but Kelsey's done that plenty of times. And if you play Kelsey, that's like one less stud, like a Metcalf, a Devontae, or Jefferson, or whoever that you can't play. And Miami's defense has been decent. We saw Hill steal the show last week, and like Kelsey has truly, only gone nuclear every time except twice. So weigh that against the value guys, and the value guys, there's a couple. Robert Tonyan, I do like. I think he's like a leveragey play against like the Adams and Rodgers and Green Bay running back kind of plays that'll be very popular. Like, he's got a touchdown in 3 consecutive games. Aaron Rodgers talks about him all the time on Pat McAfee's podcast. Like, this is working, and you can certainly attack tight ends against Detroit. Noah Fant has massive ceiling. And Cole Kmet, baby. This guy's legit. And he's just, pretty much rendered Jimmy Graham useless. And Mitch Trubisky is going to continue to check down early and often. And Cole Kmet, he did the dirty at Notre Dame. And I wasn't surprised at all. He got 7 targets last week. And I think that's only going to increase as Trubisky realizes what he's got there.
Yeah, I'm most likely punting all day. Tight end, save money. Let's go. Defenses, Joey.
Yeah, obviously, I feel like the Seahawks defense is 5,000 is great, but I just don't see a path to where you're going to be able to get there. The same thing with like the Saints. You're going to have to go down and pay down at defense this week. That being said, there is some good defenses I think you can take a stab at. Carolina at 3,400 on FanDuel. We know that Drew Lock likes to give up the ball a few times. I realize that the defense banged up with COVID and stuff like that, but we know that this Denver offense is kind of anemic at times. I also like the Cowboys at 3,500. They're not bad. But, it's not a great week for defenses. Let's see. I don't mind Washington. Also, they're not going to kill you. You know what I'm saying? They're going to be okay. I don't think that, the 49ers offense is going to just be able to just score at will against Washington. So I don't mind that, especially, they look pretty good against Pittsburgh. And then I also don't mind the Denver Broncos on the other side. There's no McCaffrey, no DJ Moore. Russell Okung is not playing 100%. I think that Denver maybe can get some sacks, stuff like that. But defense is kind of weird this week. The Chiefs defense isn't bad either because, we got Tua, rookie, and they could have something for him. But there's not much. I think you should just pay down.
Paulie?
Saints, if you can find the way to get the money, they could certainly break the slate. They've been awesome. Rookie quarterback with fumbling tendencies, young skill players. 49ers, you'll probably like this one, 2K. Like Washington, short week, not very good. Get to the passer, missing their running back, might have to throw, likely losing. San Francisco seems to be kind of getting healthy and back to like last few years form. And then I'm also cool with the Eagles. Like, as much as I do think he could play the Saints quarterback and he's impressed, he's also very, very like capable of having a meltdown, multiple fumbles, throwing picks. And the Eagles have, just been a team that, like, makes big plays on defense for many years. So those are the 3 I'm most interested in right now.
I'm with it. All right, we're gonna do game stacks, and then we'll do our best bets, and then we're out of here, gentlemen. Paulie, I'm sorry, Joey, you first, man. Favorite game stack?
My favorite game stack, I like Kansas City and Miami. I just like putting maybe Gaskin with Mahomes, Hill, Kelsey, going with like that. That's my one option. I also don't mind the Seattle stack with Russ, Lockett, and DK. Bring it back with Perryman. You'll still have money left over too. And then the Falcons Chargers. Those are my big games. I think that with the Falcons, obviously Ridley is popular, or Gage. They're going to put up points. Gurley is a good contrarian, but Herbert with Allen and Williams and Eckler, I could see that.
Fair enough. Paulie, game stacks.
I've said it a few times, Minnesota, Tampa. I really just I think both teams' strengths are throwing. I think both teams' defenses are defending the run. I think this clock could be just barely moving all game. Ton of throws, ton of deep plays, huge score. And the Jets Seattle thing, but Jets quarterback, Perriman, DK, load up on studs the rest of the way.
Boom. For me, it's clearly Seattle. Mostly, I say Seattle. Seattle Jets, mostly Seattle. Onslaughts in play, bring back a Perriman, all that, every which way. I'm doing it. Best bets, and we're out of here. Joe, you're up first.
Bets. I'm going to take the Atlanta Chargers the over. I'm going to take the Seahawks plus 13.5.
You mean minus 13.5.
Minus 13.5. Sorry.
Nice try.
And Chiefs minus 7.5.
All right, Paulie.
We'll take the Raiders under. We will take the Giants. Just kidding. Cardinals money line, and the Vikings over.
Let's do it. I'm going Indianapolis Colts on the road minus the 2.5. I'm going Seattle Jets over the 47 total, and I think that was it. Actually, yeah, I'll cut it there. I'll leave it at that. I'm with it. Let's get different. Nation, that's going to do it for this week. Appreciate those of you hanging out with us live. Please hit the like button if you haven't already. It really helps us out. Allows us to continue to do DFS content on YouTube and Twitch for free. Don't forget to check us out at wisec.com if you're looking to dig in a little bit more with the Nation. Paulie D's GPP article, Patio Joe's Cash Game article, my Core Plays article, the cheat sheets, the projections, all available for Wisec Nation subscribers at wisec.com. Use promo code NFL20 to get 20% off. Drop sevens, do dirties. And don't forget the NBA preseason is here. Rock with us. We're doing dirties. For Patio Joe, for Paulie D, for myself, the entire Wisec Nation. As always, good luck.
Thank you, E. Millie.
Yeah.